One look at the male human diplomat was all it took. The alien's breath quickened, her face flushed, and her body trembled with forbidden desire. Spica never imagined she would react this way to meeting a human. But now, every fiber of her being was screaming at her to claim this man, to do unspeakable things to him right there in the reception hall. When the human delegation arrived on the Gamelon homeworld, they expected to make peaceful first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Little did they know, their presence would awaken primal urges long suppressed in the Gamelon females. Nathan Simmons stood at the center of the controversy. As a key member of the diplomatic team, he was responsible for forging a strong alliance with the Gamelons. But he never anticipated the intensity of Spica's attraction to him, or how their forbidden connection could jeopardize everything. The Gamelons reproduced asexually, their males having died out eons ago. For millennia, they had no need or desire for sexual contact, until they met human men like Nathan. Something about them reawakened the Gamelons' dormant breeding instincts, and many saw this as a threat that had to be eliminated at all costs. As Nathan and Spica grew closer, their respective peoples moved further apart. Gamelon hardliners saw the humans as a risk to their way of life. Human separatists viewed the aliens as an aberration of nature. Both sides were eager for war. Now Nathan and Spica find themselves caught between two worlds, two ideologies, two species never meant to intertwine. They will have to fight not just for the future of human Gamelon relations, but for the chance to fully embrace the fiery passion building between them. The risks are monumental, the odds are bleak, but the reward, a forbidden love unlike any the galaxy has seen, will be worth every sacrifice. Nathan and Spica knew they had to act fast. The fate of both their peoples hung in the balance. Meeting in secret, they pooled their knowledge and resources, determined to uncover the full extent of the hardliners' plot against the humans. Spica's position in the Gamelon government proved invaluable. Though it pained her to deceive her colleagues, she used her security clearance to access restricted files and communications. What she found confirmed their worst fears. "Nathan, look at this," Spica said, pointing to a series of coded transmissions. "The hardliners have moles in key military and intelligence posts. They're positioning ships and troops around the human compound as we speak." Nathan's expression resolute as he read the log of subversive orders and directives. "It's worse than we thought. They're planning a full-scale assault. We have to warn my people and get them to safety." "I'll keep digging. There may be some in the High Council willing to listen." "And if there aren't?" "Then we do what we must, for the sake of our worlds and for us." Spica pulled up the schematics of a remote government data facility. "If we can infiltrate the data center, we might find more evidence to back our claims. But Nathan, doing this, it would brand me a traitor. I would be risking everything." Nathan took her hands, his touch electric even now. He looked into her eyes with fierce sincerity. "I know what I'm asking of you. I'll understand if you can't do it." Spica shook her head resolute. "I'm with you in this, despite the toll. Let's go." Breaking into the data facility was almost too easy. As Spica kept watch, Nathan used his diplomatic override codes to access the terminal and download the classified files. That was when they struck pay dirt. "It's all here, Spica," he said, his voice tight. "The staging areas, the troop and armament numbers. They're even scouting targets for false flag attacks to blame on my delegation." Just as they were about to make their escape, a familiar figure stepped out from the shadows, flanked by armed guards. "Grandmother!" Spica gasped, her heart in her throat. The family resemblance was clear, but General Ziva's face was hard and unyielding where Spica's was warm and open. "Granddaughter," Ziva replied coldly, "I had hoped it would not come to this, that you would see reason and stand with your people." "I am standing with my people, grandmother, but not with your hate and fear. The humans aren't our enemy." So misguided, so naive. They've already beguiled you to spread your legs and betray your own. Would you let them do the same to the rest of us? Let them dominate and defile us until we're no longer Gamelon? Spica recoiled as if slapped, but she stood her ground. "Is that what this is about? Controlling our reproduction? The human's genetic science is the key to ensuring our females never again mate with males. You think this is about politics or territory? This is about our very identity, the integrity of our genome. It was everything Spica could do not to scream. The sheer hypocrisy, the callousness. She had to make her grandmother see. Stepping closer, she spoke in low, urgent tones. What you really fear is females having a choice. The humans aren't conquerors. They're potential partners. They could help enrich our stagnant society. With what? Their brutish lusts? I won't allow it. I'll die before I let an alien species dictate our reproduction. The general raised her weapon, aiming not at Spica, but at Nathan. In a flash, Spica moved between them, shielding him. Then you'll have to kill me, too, because I love him, grandmother. A gamelan and a human. That's the future for all of us. Ziva's arm wavered, her eyes widening. For a moment, Spica thought she'd gotten through to her. Then the older female's face hardened into a mask of commitment. So be it. Before Ziva could pull the trigger, Spica lunged forward, grabbing for the gun. The two females grappled, evenly matched in height and strength. Nathan tackled the guards, dispatching them with quick, precise strikes. Spica cried out as her grandmother's elbow connected with her jaw. She tasted blood, saw stars. But she didn't release her hold on Ziva's weapon arm. With a final wrenching effort, she disarmed the general and laid her out with a punch to the temple. Panting, Spica turned to Nathan. Other than a split lip, he seemed unhurt. Grasping hands, they fled the chaos of the data center and raced to the nearest comm relay. They had the proof. Now they had to use it. Transmitting on all emergency frequencies, Nathan and Spica broadcast their findings, along with an urgent plea for cooperation. To their relief, the Gamelan moderates responded first, moving to secure the capital and round up the conspirators. On the human side, the delegation went on high alert, but held back from a forceful response. There would be tense days ahead as both sides sought to build trust. But for now, the immediate crisis was averted. In the aftermath, as a stunned populace grappled with the news, Nathan took Spica into his arms. No more secrets, no more fears. Let anyone see and know the truth of what they were to each other. He leaned down to capture her mouth with his, the kiss searing in its intensity. Spica's body surged against him, every nerve igniting with need. This was what the hardliners had sought to repress and pervert for their own ends. This profound joining of passion and tenderness, of giving and accepting. They came together in a tangle of sweat-slicked limbs, all gasps and sighs and gentle violence, the fire of their coupling a declaration to all the worlds. When it was over, when they lay twined in the ruddy dark, Nathan traced the elegant curves and whorls of Spica's face. "What now?" he asked, his voice husky. Spica nuzzled into his caress, eyes heavy-lidded and sated. "Now we face the future, together." Little did they know how soon that future would arrive. In the wake of the failed coup, long-buried tensions began to resurface among the Gamelans. Progressive enclaves embraced the idea of reopening ties with Earth, but the traditionalists saw only a fundamental threat to the natural order. As for the humans, the revelation of the Gamelan's biochemical reaction to their men triggered a flurry of shameless male posturing back home. Websites popped up with names like Crazy for Red Chicks. Conspiracy theorists pontificated about the Gamelans using pheromone thralls to lure in unsuspecting studs. Spica worried for both their people's future. "Nathan, as horrible as this is to say, perhaps it's best we remain apart for a time. Let the novelty and the outrage burn out." He wanted to argue, but he saw the wisdom in her words. "You're right. We've shown them what's possible. The rest is up to them." But Spica— "I know," she said, stopping his mouth with a kiss. "This changes nothing for us." So, Nathan returned to Earth to quell the raging hormones of his fellow men and set the record straight about human Gamelan relations. He became the de facto expert on the Gamelan question, appearing on talk shows and before government committees. All the while, his heart ached for Spica. The distance was a gnawing void. But they'd started something bigger than the both of them now. Their personal feelings had to come second. Or so he thought, until the day of the riot. On a Gamelon colony world, a mixed group of human expats and Gamelon progressives had organized a peaceful cultural exchange festival. In the middle of the ceremonies, a traditionalist militia group struck. Their graffiti and vitriol made their motives clear. "Keep bloodlines pure and resist the red whore," they scrawled and screamed as they attacked the festival goers. Dozens were injured, human and Gamelon alike, before the extremists were subdued. But the damage to the public psyche was done. Here, for all to see, was the bloody cost of intolerance. Watching the carnage play out on the news feeds, Nathan felt something harden inside him. A diamond determination, sharp-edged and indestructible. He had to get back to Spica. Whatever challenges they faced, whatever storms raged around them, they would weather it side by side, as partners, as lovers, as the living embodiment of what could be. It was time to stop reacting and start building. Time for the future they believed in and the love that would light the way, for both their peoples and themselves. Nathan boarded the shuttle back to Earth with a heavy heart. Spica's absence left an ache in his chest, but he knew they both had important work ahead. As soon as he landed, Nathan faced an uphill battle. At his first briefing with government officials, he encountered fierce opposition. "The Gamelons are too different," insisted General Crawford, pounding his fist on the table. "Their biology, their reproduction, it's unnatural. We can't risk close ties." Nathan kept his cool. "With respect, General, our differences are our strength. The Gamelons have much to offer Earth." But not everyone shared Nathan's optimism. As word spread about the Gamelons' intense reactions to human men, public fascination exploded. Nathan's inbox overflowed with messages from lonely guys begging to meet Gamelon women. "Dude, hook me up with one of those hot alien chicks," read one crass email. Nathan deleted it with a sigh. This wasn't the cultural exchange he'd hoped for. Things took a darker turn when reports emerged of human trafficking rings smuggling men to Gamelon worlds for illicit encounters. Nathan felt sick reading about the exploitation. On a video call, Spica's face was grim. "It's chaos here, Nathan. We're pushing for open immigration to stop the black market, but conservatives are fighting us." "Same here," Nathan replied, "but we can't give up." Their fears came to a head when a mob of rowdy human men caused a riot in the Gamelon capital. Nathan watched the footage in horror as progressives and traditionalists clashed in the streets. At his next meeting with Earth's leadership, Nathan didn't mince words. "We need a real integration program with thorough vetting, or this powder keg will explode." To his relief, they agreed. Nathan threw himself into creating a cultural education initiative, recruiting a diverse team of human and Gamelon ambassadors, including Spica. Their speaking tour kicked off with promise, but at every stop, they battled misinformation and threats from extremists determined to keep humanity and Gamelons apart. During a public talk on New Eden Colony, Nathan was mid-sentence when an explosion rocked the auditorium. He hit the ground as debris rained down. People screamed. Through the smoke, he saw bodies strewn across the floor. Nathan tried to stand, but searing pain shot through his leg. He'd survived, but shrapnel had left him badly injured. As medics loaded him onto a stretcher, his last thought before passing out was of Spica. He woke in a hospital bed to find her holding his hand. "I came as soon as I heard," she said, eyes brimming with tears. Though the attack cut their tour short, it only strengthened Nathan's willpower. As he recovered under Spica's tender care, they spent long nights planning their next move. "We'll take our message to the whole galaxy," Nathan said. "Show everyone what's possible between our peoples." Spica's smile lit up the room. Together. But fate had other plans. As Nathan's treatment progressed, he suddenly went into anaphylactic shock. By the time doctors stabilized him, he'd slipped into a coma. Spica stood vigil by his bedside, clutching his unresponsive hand. Their dream hung in the balance, but she wouldn't let it die. "I'll keep fighting for us," she whispered, "for the future we believe in." With a deep breath, Spica stepped out to face the cameras alone and continue their work. The fate of two civilizations now rested on her shoulders. Spica stood alone at the podium, her heart heavy with Nathan's absence. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation as she cleared her throat and began to speak. "Friends, both human and Gamelan, I stand before you today, not just as an ambassador, but as someone who has experienced firsthand the power of understanding between our peoples." Her voice wavered slightly as she recounted her journey with Nathan. The crowd hung on her every word, captivated by the raw emotion in her story. But not everyone was moved. Outside the venue, angry protesters waved signs denouncing Spica as a race traitor. "Keep Gamelan pure," they chanted. Spica pushed on, traveling from world to world. She spoke to packed auditoriums and intimate gatherings alike, always sharing her personal experiences to humanize the message of unity. The backlash grew fiercer with each stop. Gamelan purists plastered hateful propaganda across city centers. "Spica spreads human disease," the posters screamed. Then came the violence. At a rally on New Gamelan, extremists stormed the stage. Spica barely escaped as security subdued the attackers. But the worst was yet to come. As Spica prepared to address a major summit, an explosion rocked the conference center. Smoke filled the air as panicked attendees fled. Spica sprung into action, guiding a group of terrified humans and Gamelans to safety. As emergency responders arrived, she emerged from the chaos, clothes torn and face smudged with soot. The incident shocked both species. Moderate voices on both sides condemned the violence, calling for renewed efforts at cooperation. But Spica could hardly celebrate. A frantic call from Nathan's doctors shattered her world anew. "His body is rejecting our treatments," they explained. "We're running out of options." Desperate, Spica made a fateful choice. Against all protocols, she had Nathan transferred to a secret Gamelan research facility. The lab was unlike anything she'd seen. Strange equipment hummed as shadowy figures in protective suits scurried about. A lead scientist explained their work, blending human and Gamelan biology to unlock new medical frontiers, including, he revealed, the possibility of viable hybrids between their species. Spica recoiled at first, the idea seeming unnatural, but as Nathan's condition deteriorated, she steeled herself and gave the order. For days, she paced the halls as the scientists worked. When they finally emerged, their faces were unreadable. "It worked," the lead researcher said simply. "He's awake." Spica rushed to Nathan's side. His eyes fluttered open, focusing on her face. "Spica," he whispered, his voice stronger than it had been in months. Tears of joy streamed down Spica's face as she embraced him, but this was only the beginning of their journey. Nathan cradled his newborn child, marveling at the perfect blend of human and Gamelan features. The baby's skin held a faint bluish tint, while wisps of reddish hair crowned its head. As he gazed into those eyes, one blue, one brown, alarms suddenly blared through the medical facility. The door burst open. Dr. Zen rushed in, face pale. "We're under attack. Extremists, both human and Gamelan. They're here for the child." Nathan's heart raced. He clutched the baby close as Spica leapt from her bed. "We have to go, now!" They sprinted down sterile corridors, the sounds of gunfire and shattering glass growing closer. Rounding a corner, they came face to face with a group of masked attackers. "Hand over the abomination!" one snarled, brandishing a weapon. Nathan shielded the baby with his body. Spica tensed beside him, ready to fight. But they were outnumbered. In a blur of violence, the attackers overwhelmed them. Nathan felt the child torn from his arms. He struggled, but a blow to the head sent him crashing to the floor. Through blurred vision, he saw the terrorists retreating with his baby. "No!" Spica's anguished cry pierced the air. Hours later, they huddled in a safe house watching a broadcast. The extremist leader, flanked by human and Gamelan hardliners, issued his demands. "This unholy union must end," he declared. Implement total separation of our species, or the hybrid dies. Nathan's fists clenched. We're getting our child back. They formulated a plan, calling in favors from old allies. Armed with prototype stealth tech, they infiltrated the extremists' compound. Nathan's breath came in quick bursts as they crept through darkened halls. A cry echoed from a nearby room. Their baby. They burst in, catching the guards by surprise. Nathan scooped up his child while Spica provided covering fire. But as they fled, more enemies converged. Laser blasts scorched the air. Nathan ran, shielding the baby. He glanced back to see Spica stumble, clutching her side. Go! She yelled, turning to face their pursuers. Nathan hesitated, torn. But the child in his arms wailed, spurring him on. He made it to their escape vehicle, praying Spica was right behind. The ship lifted off as laser fire peppered its hull. Then he saw her, sprinting across the landing pad. So close. A stray blast caught her squarely in the back. She fell. No! Nathan screamed. He set the ship down, heedless of danger. Racing to Spica's side, he gathered her broken body in his arms. Blood bubbled from her lips as she smiled up at him. The baby. Safe, Nathan choked out, thanks to you. Spica's hand brushed their child's cheek. Promise me, she whispered. Raise our little one to bring us all together, no matter what. I swear it, Nathan vowed. Spica's eyes dulled, her hand going limp. Nathan howled his grief to the uncaring stars. Weeks later, a small ship touched down on a remote agrarian world. Nathan disembarked, cradling his precious cargo. Here, far from the conflicts tearing the galaxy apart, he would honor Spica's final wish. Years flowed by. The child, whom Nathan named Nova, grew into a curious, compassionate young adult. They tended crops together, studied both human and Gamelon cultures, and engaged in spirited debates via long-range communications. Why do they hate us so much, Dad? Nova asked one evening, after another tense call with government officials. Nathan sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. Fear, mostly. Fear of change, of the unknown. But you, Nova, you're living proof that our peoples can not only coexist, but create something beautiful together. Nova nodded, heterochromatic eyes shining with purpose. Then I'll keep fighting. For you, for Mom, for everyone who believes in unity. Little did they know how soon that dedication would be tested. For even as they spoke, warships were gathering. The flames of hatred, long simmering, were about to erupt into an inferno that would engulf the entire galaxy.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.